What is going on? David, it is my favorite day of the week. Seeing you for the last 5 years for just about every single Friday is something that I get to actually be a wheeler about.
Oh, don't bromance me, buddy. Come on, don't bromance me, buddy.
Now it's National Wiener Day. Being National Wiener Day, I think that it's very apropos on discussing some of the biggest wieners on the international stage. Hypocrisy runs rampant in government. Hypocrisy runs rampant in international government. But you know where hypocrisy runs at the highest level? The United Nations. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network, a go-to podcast that's unfiltered, unapologetic, hosted by myself, Stuart Briscoe, and my co-host and sometimes the host, that's David Solomon. As we tackle a diverse range of topics, candid conversations, hold and bold opinions, whether it's breaking down the latest headlines or exploring pop culture, debating politics, or delving into complexities of modern life. So grab a seat, settle in, and join us on this thought-provoking little chit-chat. So, David and I in the green room were yakety yak about United Nations today. Because we're tired of talking about Donald J. Trump. We're tired of talking about hyena Kamala Harris or any of the Democrat-Republican splits. This is something that has been going on for such a long time, where people talk out of two sides of the mouth. And today, their big mouth is just so vile that David put on glasses to tell you about. David?
I had no idea where that last part came in. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, the United Nations is not just a hypocrisy. It's not just full of garbage. They're blatant racists. Blatant. Overt. They can't hide it. The wokiest of woke organizations, you think? No. Plain old anti-Semitic. And it starts with the Secretary General Guterres, who has done nothing to stop Hamas, in fact, encouraged Hamas, did nothing to stop the Houthis, did nothing to do to stop, Hezbollah, nothing to do to stop Iran, but blamed Israel since October the 7th for everything. If you recall, he said, well, you can't blame the Palestinians for what they did. Remember, 1,200 killed, people were raped, babies were burnt, and so on and so on. That was the United Nations. The body that's supposed to be protecting the peace was protecting a piece of the Middle East for Palestinians. That's all that mattered. So when you look at who they hire or who are nominated or who are the representatives, the name Francesca Albanese is one of the bitchiest, nastiest anti-Semites that keeps getting her job back. Gee, she is the UN representative for the rights of the Palestinians. You couldn't come up with a more stupid name, stupid title, stupid responsibility. The United Nations has no desire to protect the Palestinians. It's fodder. It's the tool to go after Israel. Because if you see what happened recently, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, set up by the United States and Israel, and has been supported by other countries with airdrops of food for Palestinians. Palestinians were getting the food. But the UN said, no, you shouldn't do it. You can't be here. Leave it with us. Every truck that the UN touched went to Hamas. The Gaza Humanitarian Fund, the food actually got to the Palestinians. But UN said, don't. Remember, this is the same people who brought you UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Workers Association, to help the Palestinians. And what do? They set up schools to teach anti-Semitism. They have terrorists, they have teachers who become terrorists, and went in on October the 7th. And it's been proven time and time again. It's the same group that sent all of your money, all of your tax money to Hamas to build 500 miles of tunnels under Gaza instead of building up infrastructure, giving them a livelihood. So is it any wonder that Francesca Albanese stands up last Sunday and says, you got it wrong, people. All of the world has got it wrong. Because her belief is that Hamas is a political force that won the elections in 2005, whether we like it or not. Hamas built schools, public facilities, hospitals. It was simply the authority, the de facto authority. She says it's critical you understand when you think of Hamas, you should not necessarily think of cutthroats, people armed to the teeth or fingers. It's not like that. She says they're a political entity. Now, wait a minute. Let's stop for a second here, Stuart. Because in this case, one thing that the United States, Canada, England, France, Australia, the European Union all agree is that Hamas is a designated terrorist organization. They agree on it. Now, how they handle it is a whole other thing. But she decided they're a political entity. So if they're a political entity, then you need to treat them like Russia. Russia, who invaded the Ukraine, you need to sanction them. You need to sanction them the same way. You need to treat them the same way as a political entity. They should be up for war crimes, which they're not. They should be up for not only war crime, but for humanitarian neglect of their own people. Because they built these 500-mile tunnels, and instead of bringing the people underground, they left them above ground. But Francesca Albanese wants you to understand that Hamas aren't terrorists. They're innocent. They should not be held accountable for anything they have done before, during, or after October the 7th. This is her statement. She has been saying it a long time. She added for years, you have a right to resist this occupation. She calls this a genocide. Israel is committing genocide. She hasn't stopped saying that. She distorted the Holocaust. She's promoted anti-Semitism in countries like France, like Germany, like Canada. She's come in and she's been invited by all of these anti-Semites to talk even more about how Israel is in the wrong. And we've said this time and time again, Stuart, it's not possible that one entity is 100% wrong. And in this case, when I hear people saying, listen, you got to understand, this is complicated. No, it's not complicated. Francesca Albanese and the United Nations have done nothing to support Israel. There are more resolutions passed against Israel every year than all the other member nations combined. Imagine, Russia invades Ukraine, sent in hundreds of drones this week, blew up an American company, went crazy, has killed tens of thousands of civilians, but it's Israel who gets the resolutions, not Russia. There are massacres and genocides in Africa. Muslim groups have gone on and massacred entire communities of Christians. Not a peep. But Israel is Francesca Albanese's little, toy. She wants to see it erased off the map. She would love to see from the river to the sea be Palestine, not a Jew. She would adore Hitler. She would adore Stalin. She would adore any of these type of people, these maniacal authoritarians who want to see Jews eradicated and erased. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is who the UN voted in to help Palestinians.
All right, let's sort of jump in. Since May 22, she served in the United Nations as a special rapporteur to the situation of human rights. Her statement basically are cliched over Palestinian territory occupied since 1967. She is Italian. She's not French. 2014, she posted invoking a Jewish lobby where she, during the 2014 Gaza war, she wrote an American subjugated by the Jewish lobby, right? Where she basically accused the U.S. government on being Jewish and the Jews of the American government are the ones facilitating this thing. 2015, she imagines a Nazi trooper as a Jewish victim of Israel's soldiers against Palestinians, where she depicted the neo-Nazism as being the Jews, not the Palestinians. October 7th, it's not because they were Jewish, was her language that she used, where she is vehemently opposed to the state of Israel and says Israel is oppressing the Palestinians. Anyways, endorsing Netanyahu-Hitler comparison, that was last year. Okay? The armed resistance is what Gaza was in a Gaza bodies, and that's what she really has been saying since 2022. The government, what else do you want me to tell you here?
Nothing. We got it. You could read her list of criminal statements.
Right. So she denies being an anti-Semite. And even after the Hitler comparison of 24, it triggered an immediate U.S. diplomatic rebuke, calling her an anti-Semite and that it was anti-Semitic, adding a cumulative record tied to her and her government watchdog, right? She regrets the clarification of her remarks from 2014. You know, like these people like to say, fuck you, I'm sorry. Fuck you.
No, she didn't say I'm sorry. She didn't. When did she say I'm sorry? She doesn't say sorry.
Yes, she did. No. You are incorrect. She subsequently regrets clarification of her 2014 and her 2024 tweet. Her stance in legal life, framing it as contextual and not mooted. Official termination. So she trying to whitewater it.
She's not apologizing. Oh, I regret is not an apology.
I agree. But she regretted, but tried to
spare me.
I don't have to you. I think she is a wonderful human being that should be hung from a tree. And
let her go to Gaza. Let her go to Gaza. If you're so happy, go to Gaza. Look, Stuart,
should we start a GoFundMe page for her to go to Gaza?
Stop with your GoFundMe pages. Listen, Mike Huckabee, who is the U.S. ambassador in Israel, he's like, he listened to this and he's like, what are you bloody nuts? And he said the most stunning statement she made, the most offensive comment she says heard in a generation is that Hamas built schools. And he says, quote, that's as stupid as saying Hannibal Lecter made creative culinary dishes. So, when you think about what this woman espouses, she espouses a genocide. She wants to see a genocide, but not the Palestinians, but Jews, Israel. And this is the United Nations, a body that's supposed to uphold human rights, that is supposed to uphold the rights of nations. There are more egregious nations out there than Israel. But of course, the only country that matters to the UN, the only bitch that everybody goes after is Israel. And her statement simply is, you can't blame the Palestinians. What she said, which was phenomenal, and to go back to what you just said a second ago, is that she doesn't see what happened on October 7th as a terrorist attack. She called it an armed resistance. You want to talk about watering down a crime? That's like saying you didn't murder someone. You just, listen, you had to move them away. What do murder is murder. There's no other way to describe it. If you don't like the word murder, you don't want to talk about the killing of the 1,200 people. How does rape and how does burning babies, how is that a resistance?
David, like we said before, and you said it in the agreement, but you didn't mention it now. And as we get to a close, they want to call Gaza a government, the Palestinian as a government, Hamas as a government. And when a government decides to go into another country, it's called what, David?
Stuart, if you would re-listen to this broadcast, you will hear me saying that. It is a war crime. They committed a war crime.
I wanted to invoke you to say it again.
Okay, well, here's the thing. If they're a government, they're guilty of war crimes. If they're a terrorist organization, they get to be slaughtered.
They decided to have Netanyahu charged for war crimes, but the leader of Hamas wasn't charged for war crimes. Have you noticed that?
No, he wasn't. He was. But if you would look at the ICC, the International Criminal Court's way of handling it, it was kind of like, yeah, you too, but Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant were both charged in absentia to be blah blah blah. But think about it, country by country. What did political leaders say? Oh, if Netanyahu comes here, I'm going to arrest.
I was trying to get to that. I never heard the French, I never heard these other governments say, if this guy comes here, we're going to put you in shackles. I never heard that, David.
Francesca Albanese would be happier than happy if she were to do that. This woman would love to see Netanyahu taken away in shackles. Okay? She is incredible how she believes that she just wants to change the narrative. She's accused of businesses of arming Israel, of arming a genocidal government. You know, the word genocide is so funny how it's thrown out, and she threw it out. If she would see the definition of genocide, and Stuart, I got to wrap it up with this. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, it would have been done in one afternoon.
Yep.
They would have bombed the living crap out of Gaza. They would have flattened it, killed everybody in an afternoon. The war is almost
like Putin, though. That's what Putin did and doing. Wow.
You're telling me in 2 years, the best military in the world couldn't do the job? But she wants to continue to make you believe, and all the lefties and all the world to continue to believe that the Hamas isn't in the wrong. It's a campaign of genocide. The move is to destroy Palestinians. She has been urging companies to cease dealing with Israel. She's called for accountability, quote unquote, to the CEOs under international humanitarian law. You want to talk about how you could twist words? That woman, instead of screaming at Hamas, if she's here to help the Palestinians, then you tell me, why hasn't she called on Hamas to set up shelters? Why isn't she yelling at Hamas to lay down your arms, return the 50 hostages, stop the war? Think about that. If she's really caring about the lives of the Palestinians, then Hamas should just say, stop the war. What can I tell you?
That's it. You told us it's Friday. Time to go home, guys. It's lunchtime somewhere. Anyways, that brings this to an end. We truly appreciate you tuning in, sharing this time. Support engagement means the world. Don't forget us here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Join in, grab us a line, say hello. We'd love to hear from you. Guys, until next time, Monday, what do you got to say, David?